The University of Education Winneba, UEW, established in 1992 as a university college under PNDC Law 322, was upgraded to the status of a full university in 2004 under the University of Education Winneba Act 672. The then University College brought together 7 already existing diploma awarding colleges located in different towns under one umbrella institution. In 2020, the Kumasi and Mampong campuses, which were an integral part of UEW, were carved out by a parliamentary enactment, Act 1026 of 2020, to form the Akantina Piaminka University of Skills Training and Entrepreneurial Development. The Kumasi and Asante Mampong satellite campuses consequently ceased to be part of UEW. The University of Education Winneba is charged with the responsibility of producing professional educators to spearhead a new national vision of education aimed at redirecting Ghana's efforts along the path of rapid economic and social development. The university is expected to play a leading role in the country's drive to produce scholars whose knowledge would be fully responsive to the realities and exigencies of contemporary Ghana and the West African sub-region. Now, with a total population of about 69,262 students across its regular, distance, and sandwich programs, UEW is inarguably the fastest growing and largest populated public university in the country. Its main campus is at Winneba, with Ejumaku as a satellite campus, both in the central region of Ghana. Additionally, it has some 47 distance education study centers across the country. From its humble beginnings, UEW has worked its way to become the university of choice in education and education-related disciplines. As an academic and research community committed to building and sustaining a global center of excellence for teacher education, the university, under the Reverend Father Anthony Afulbroni-led management, decided to position itself by purposively investing in infrastructure and other complementary resources and services to make tertiary education more accessible to much more qualified Ghanaian youth, international applicants, and particularly to support the government's flagship program of free senior high school.
We have taken the first bold step because we cannot continue to watch as tens and tens of thousands of qualified Ghanaian children drop out of school because they cannot afford fees. Free SHS is here to stay. It is thus gratifying to learn that UEW, under the leadership of the new Vice Chancellor, has already begun preparations to welcome the first batch of free SHS students and treat the leadership of the university to continue to create an excellent and conducive environment for teaching and learning at all times.
At the investiture of the Vice Chancellor, the President of Ghana charged the university management team to improve access of qualified Ghanaian youth to the university. The university embraced the call by the President and set out to develop elaborate plans to tackle the challenge head-on.
In 2017, when the Vice Chancellor took over as acting Vice Chancellor, he was given the power to initiate programs and activities that will support how any CEO or Chief Executive Officer would want a company that he's passionate about and whose future he hopes to see brighter.
After serving for 2 terms as Pro-Vice Chancellor, I was given the mandate to act as Vice Chancellor for almost a year. And on the 17th of September 2018, I assumed duty as the substantive Vice Chancellor of this great university with the vision, and I quote, to transform UEW into a nationally and globally well-respected, keenly sought-after teacher education university of high academic standards, one that is resource secure and accessible to many, holds high values and has holistic attitude to quality assurance, unquote. This vision was anchored on 1, continuous advancement in infrastructure, 2, human resource development, 3, promoting academic excellence, 4, transparent governance, 5, access and equity. 6, efficient administration. And 7, student-centeredness. Now, to be able to work more effectively, there was the need to develop a strategic plan.
The vision and mission of this university guided the Vice Chancellor in designing what kind of strategic plan that he wanted to implement or put in place for this university. The Vice Chancellor commissioned a team of professors and experts to come up with a strategic plan for the university. The strategic plan was an outcome of the Vice Chancellor's vision for what he wants to achieve within the next 4 years when he would be in power. Now, within the strategic plan are all the things that the Vice Chancellor envisioned for this university. Within the period, one thing that drove the plan was the call on the President Nana Akufo-Addo, who had just assumed office in 2017, for indicating that the free senior high school education was to be implemented, which meant that within the year that the students would be in school, within the 3 years, which was by 2020, these students would be coming to university. And because of its free nature, we all acknowledge the fact that hundreds of thousands of Ghanaian children had access to the free education. And therefore, all universities have to make plans to absorb as many as they could these students who were going to graduate in 2020. Again, guided by the vision of the Vice Chancellor and supported by the Governing Council, this university, in the last 2 years especially, put up a lot of strategic infrastructure.
One of them was to continue with all ongoing projects in terms of infrastructure and ensure that they were completed within time for this infrastructure to be used for the purpose for which they were started. And that is why, if you go right now, you see some of the infrastructure which was started so many years ago. You go to Kumasi before Kumasi left. If you went to Kumasi those days, you would have seen. And if you go to Kumasi today, you see the difference. If you go to Mambo, they say that. If you go to Edumako, you see what is going on there. And then in Winneba, have you visited Central Campus of late? Get to Central Campus and you see. Project that was started so many years back. Within that period, we have it completed.
The Central Campus has the John Agyekum Kufuor and Technology blocks. Some of the facilities in these imposing buildings include 200-seater capacity lecture halls, 400-seater ultra-modern theaters with preparation and changing rooms, smaller lecture spaces, audiovisual rooms, libraries, drumming, xylophone, mirror and dance band rooms, offices for lecturers, cafeteria and ICT center.
The faculty block, which has been in existence for about 11 years and which was stalled until I took over this place, have been able to work with management, and we are engaged this project. We are more likely to commission by mid-September or early September.
UW was more or less ready, you understand, having 10 lecture theaters, each having a capacity of 500, being built, within the space of a short time. When you want to talk about visionary leadership, this is what I think it is.
So for University of Education, that is out there with the view to compete and even excel on the international scene, has also seen the need to put up an imposing School of Graduates building of its own, where postgraduate students, lecturers, and even visiting professors and researchers can meet, organize workshops, jam, and think about groundbreaking research, and to enhance what is now in vogue, which we term research-led teaching, where research will inform teaching and teaching will reinforce research.
The construction of the water production factory at Ejumako campus and the extension of the poultry farm at Winneba are two unique projects designed to deepen sustainability by impacting our immediate communities through employment openings within the framework of corporate social responsibility while shoring up internally generated funds.
When I took over, there was a water project which was still ongoing. I'm happy to inform you that the water project has been completed and handed over to the campus. However, we are still working on procurement of the machines to be able to start the water project.
This is what students had to say about their experiences with the infrastructural transformation targeted at creating a conducive environment on campus and to open up access to the university.
Since he took over, UEW as an institution saw a lot of infrastructure development. We can talk of the Student Center here. We can talk of access roads linking the faculty area through the old pavilion. We can talk of the university hospital. We can talk of lecture theaters. A lot of infrastructure development under the professor. And so his coming into office has yielded a lot of positive results for the institution. For instance, when I was there in level 100, because of the department in which I am coming from, we are many. And so some of us, we have to wake up around 4:30 just to go and have access to lecture halls. But his coming has eased the situation. Now, as I am talking, we have a lot of accessible lecture theaters that has given us the opportunity to have our lectures in a serene environment.
Over the past few years, I must actually confess that under the administration of our able Reverend Father, Professor Anthony Afoboni, this university has actually seen an unprecedented infrastructural development. A university that within a few years has been able to put up an ultra-modern student center, over 10 lecture theater, a state-of-the-art lecture theater to help complement the number of lecture theaters that we have in actually supporting student education here at the university. We can also talk of a state-of-the-art hospital that is actually also put up to actually help support the health needs of all students here on campus. Now, with all of these infrastructural development that we've seen unprecedented under this particular administration, is actually going to go a long way to help students in terms of learning, actually also going to help support whatever that is actually centered so far as students' education is concerned. Now, when you take a look at what we have, or some of the facilities we have, especially at the Student Center that was completed a few months ago, like the TV station, the radio station. For me as a student broadcast journalist here in the school, it's actually going to help me, equip me more with broadcast journalism.
To evidently make his vision very clear in terms of the student-centered administration, he promised to make a one-stop student center where every student services can be easily attained to help reduce the frustration students go through. And that has manifestly produced a magnificent student center that is at the North Campus and now the center of attraction at the heart of the university.
We have only recently commissioned a student center, one of its kind in the nation. This student center is designed to house the office of the Dean of Student Affairs and his 2 vice deans, the offices for the SRC president, GRASAC president, NUS president, the other executives of the student leadership, the counseling center, the university chaplaincy, university radio station, university television station, banking hall, university financial services center, seminar rooms, conference rooms, restaurant, Wi-Fi rooms. Indeed, the Student Center is a one-stop shop for almost every student need, especially for fresh students when they come to the university.
I remember when the designs were ready, how management led by Vice Chancellor invited student leaders, all student leaders I was among. We were at the University's Council Chamber. Each of these architects presented their designs. And I remember students had opportunity to ask questions and all that. And it was the student leaders who even decided on which of the architectural designs to settle on. And
it poses a lot of challenges. Then it increases the pressure, the worry, and then the anxiety of persons with disabilities on campus. So the more we continue to have a lot of infrastructure development that are disability friendly, then it makes room for other persons with disabilities who are also striving to get into the university to have the confidence that they can come into the University of Education whenever, and they can have the best in terms of social support, infrastructure support, and other support that are being needed. So this is a great start, because not only the new buildings have been made disability friendly, you also have some of the old infrastructures that were being renovated to be accessible. And if this continues, then in future we can have a disability-free infrastructure that help persons with disability or with special need to move freely from wherever they want to go on campus.
Mr. Francis Obeng, the finance officer, explains how UEW was able to accomplish all these capital-intensive projects in its quest to create a world-class learning environment while expanding access.
One of the key thematic areas or the thrust areas is for the university to first of all undertake income-generating interventions and then at the same time manage the resources judiciously. We budget and budget so well. If you take the new PFM Act, that's the Public Financial Management Act, a number of sections have been devoted towards preparation of budget. So as a university, we are loyal to the preparation of the budget. We develop what we call our resource envelope. And once we get the resource envelope, we are able to tell the total income that we'll be able to generate for the academic year or for the financial year. So once that is developed, then we begin to do the allocations. And in this case, we look at three major areas. We are looking at investment activities, we are looking at goods and services, and then part of the IGF is also used to pay salaries and other emolument. That is for those staff that we are unable to put them on government payroll. With the resource envelope, we have a convention of committing between 50 to 60% of our resources into investment activities. And in this case, we are looking at the lecture blocks. We are looking at what we recently have, what we call the Studentcentered. So we are loyal to that. And then another thing we do is that we make sure that we manage costs. Cost management is very important. And that is why the budget implementation is very important. We take our time and go through the budget, allocate the resources efficiently according to the needs of the faculties. So if there is any additional cost that comes to us within the academic year, which has no basis in the budget, we try to make sure that we shelve it onto the following year. And once we do that, and I'm happy the Finance Committee, Council, everybody is committed to that. There is no way VC will allow any other expenditure that is of no relevance to sneak through the budget implementation period. We will not do that. So we've been able to do it because we are managing costs, we stick to our budget, we determine our resources, and we allocate them according to the needs of the university. And we do all these in mind the approved strategic plan. And that is how far we've been able to implement a number of projects that are significantly addressing student challenges on campus. And it's the same thing we are going to do to be able to make sure that we build a wonderful university and be able to help the government address the free SHS flagship project that is in focus.
We're not thinking just about bringing in the people, and we're also thinking about their health. If you go right now, I know that our clinic is about becoming a hospital. We have a number of medical personnel, including paramedics. They are there to support the university to ensure that the learners and staff have healthy lifestyle. They are well, and if you are well, if you are healthy, then you can move. And the health of the learner and staff are part of the quality education that we talk about.
Over the last 3 years alone, I could almost say that our numbers have doubled or even tripled in intake as we, for healthcare, do our first year or freshman medical examinations and all of that. And now with the incoming of this free SHS, we definitely anticipate a higher enrollment of students in all our various programs and all of that. We as an university in teacher education definitely are expecting more numbers, and for that, and I mean looking at the healthcare bit and healthcare aspects and everything, we are grateful to management as they allot a huge part of budget even to get this new hospital, a 100-bed unit ready. That hospital, beautiful in architecture, beautiful in design, in every way, is almost ready, and we are trusting that within the next month or so, it should be ready for our operations.
And so you see that in all that we've been doing, plans are interlinked. Talk about our internet facilities, and you see vast improvement. Faculty of Education block. Now, if you go, you begin to appreciate the level at which we have. We now have a whole setup of computers. And instead of people rushing to South Campus for computing lessons or computer lessons, this time around, students can stay at the North Campus and have their computer lessons without moving to the South. We have also created an opportunity for students with disabilities to also access computer lessons. And they don't even climb out. They have their computer lab downstairs and therefore can easily access the place and have this tutorial and then make use of computers. And so in a way, you see that the strategic plan, the strategic vision, the vision of the vision, which informs the strategic plan, enable us to have a document that has in actual sense driven and impacted upon what we want to achieve and we are achieving.
Now over the period, a lot of things have happened. There's been a lot of investment into the IT infrastructure of UEW. In fact, when our current BC Afroni took office, we used to have students poking their heads in the balusters of the main administration block to access Wi-Fi. And that's one of the first few things that he wanted to solve. So he invested a lot into access points and switches, network switches. And currently, I'm very proud to say that all the halls of residence have access to free Wi-Fi and they can browse from their beds, literally. We've also improved internet connectivity to the various classrooms and the offices. We had internet at that point, but we've increased it drastically. In fact, bandwidth has increased to the university by over 200%. Back then, receiving a bandwidth of about 620 megabit per second. Now we've increased it to about 1,860 megabit per second. So that is a vast increase from 620 to 1,860. We've also set up various IT labs. A lot of computers have come in. A fresh computer lab was set up at the Faculty of Educational Studies so that people from North Campus don't have to walk all the way to South Campus to receive ICT lectures. So that is also one of the things that has happened. And like I mentioned, that ICT has a role in teaching and learning. You notice that we had a working LMS sort of, but a lot of investment has been done in that space too. we acquired new servers. In fact, I was literally told to ensure that that system becomes robust. That system was used to end the semester during the COVID era. We ran end of semester exams and CAs. We were actually able to use it for mature entrance examinations, where several examination sittings were done before all the mature students were admitted.
UEW has championed the cause to make sure that we have market-driven programs that will prepare students so that our stakeholders, parents, government, and all that will be given that assurance that indeed UEW has what it takes to be an institution. And because of this, UEW has set up the Quality Assurance Directorate to monitor all these operations and make sure that we meet the benchmarks and the kind of standards that are needed to train students. Here is university, is a teaching university. And so we actually emphasize good training, which will actually help our product to also go out there to teach the children.
And when we took off it, there were 109 academic programs, undergraduate academic programs. And when we took office, there were 59 postgraduate programs. Within the 4-year period, we have added 24 undergraduate programs and 41 postgraduate programs. If you look at the processes through which you have to go through before a program could be accredited, we'll say that we have achieved a lot within the period. These programs, academic programs which have been implemented, established over the 4 years, cover some 9 schools and faculties. But what drove the mission of adding 61 programs and 24 undergraduate programs? It is the same idea that, one, as a global academic institution, we need to expand, because the number of students that are being admitted every year kept on increasing. Again, with the coming on stream of the senior high school students in 2020, we needed to create more programs that will absorb the various interests and areas of specialization for these students.
The graduate school has grown in leaps and bounds. As of now, the School of Graduate Studies has about 100 or more postgraduate programs ranging from PhD to ED, MPhil, MSc, MEd, and postgraduate studies. The completion rate of students at the School of Graduate Studies at the University of Education, Winneba, is encouraging. The completion rate ranges between 70 to 80%.
The records management of a university is essential to supporting its core function and creating access to many qualified applicants, and UEW fully recognizes this.
We can also talk about data integrity and data security. This is an industry standard software. So at the end of the day, you are sure of data integrity and the security of your data, because a university is only as good as its records or its records management. So once you can ensure that the data you are churning out or giving to your users is full of complete records without any issues, then yes, you can say that you are opening up access to others. And we can talk about excellent student outcomes, because at the end of the day, when you have an ERP that takes care of the students' records, students' progression, ensuring that our policies are implemented in the software, then you can ensure that at the end of the graduation period, the students you are turning out are students who have legitimately gone through the process. And at the end of the day, you can ensure that they have the quality results that they are presenting. And at the end of it all, when you have authentic results, that is what promotes your organization, and people can have confidence in the university and the certificates that it's awarding. It also improves upon the admission process. So at the end of the day, it makes it easier, and the data that comes in is more secure, more cleaner, that we can use for our day-to-day decision-making for students.
To consolidate UEW's leadership role in bringing quality education to the doorsteps of many qualified Ghanaians, UEW, under the Professor Afulbroni-led administration, paid close attention to developing distance education to facilitate access to the university.
Distance education is an alternative way of providing quality education to people who, for various reasons, may not want to come and study full-time. Whenever I get the opportunity to talk about distance learning, I emphasize the fact that distance learning is not inferior to regular or on-campus education. It is only an alternative way of acquiring the same certificates that are acquired through the regular mode. There are some people who, because of the nature of their jobs, will not find it convenient to come to full-time residence and study. So it is an opportunity for all those who duly qualify and are desirous to acquire knowledge and skills to also acquire it without necessarily leaving the operations of work. So it has the potential to produce quality products, but it also depends on the quality assurance measures that the institution providing the distance education program will put in place. We make conscious effort. We build quality into all aspects of our program.
UEW during the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is important to note that the management, especially of academic programs, which I had, has not been very smooth in the last 2 years due to the onset of coming of COVID-19. But even amidst COVID-19, we are proud to say that we became the pioneering institution that was able to bring on board the learning management system and run its program entirely without any break, apart from the one that the president himself announced, for which reason we went on break. We're able to use the learning management system to bring the academic program to a logical conclusion. In the year 2020, when most universities were running away because they couldn't leverage the use of the internet and digitization to continue the academic work, this university has scaled its infrastructure by way of digital infrastructure to a higher level. From a minimum number of 54,000, we're able to bring on board 107,000 users. From the period March to December 2020, we're able to bring our semester to a logical conclusion. We did it by also ensuring that all the protocols of COVID-19 were followed. In the year 2020, because most of the classes were done with students off campus, we relied mostly on the learning management system of UW. We were able to register and bring on board all our students, and through that process, the 2019-2020 academic year ended successfully.
We have set up a task force to ensure that all our staff, all our students, and all our visitors wear the face masks, use the hand sanitizers, and keep to the other safety protocols. Our university clinic is supporting and monitoring, and all management, as well as deans and heads of department and student leaders, are very supportive of this project.
When the university reopened again in 2021, 9th of January, again, 60 to 70% of our teaching was supposed to be done online. And the learning management system was again deployed.
One of the strategies of the Vice Chancellor to be able to drive his vision as Vice Chancellor, luckily and thankfully, had to do with student-centeredness, and that has to do with placing students first or placing students at the center of his administration. And so for a vice chancellor to have that as one of his pillars, one of his key strategies to drive his vision was very instructive.
In actual fact, since I became the Dean of the School of Creative Arts in 2017, the one song I hear the Vice Chancellor sings has been student-centered. And by student-centered, what he means is ways of ensuring that everything that has got to do with students is, realized, or it's considered as paramount in all considerations.
His administration has been a student-centered administration. This is because I have friends from other universities, and this institution happens to be one of the universities that organizes town hall meetings for its students. Reverend Father Professor Anthony Afo-Bruni organizes this town hall meeting to listen and address student-related issues. Also, he is so approachable. He has been a father for all of us. He's a listening leader. There was a time that we paid a courtesy call to him at his office as SRC executives. And he asked some of the challenges we were facing as students. Immediately we spelled out these challenges to him. He took action right there. Please.
Well, I got opportunity to serve under UEW management headed by Professor Anthony Afo-Bruni as the SRC president. And indeed, when we say Professor Anthony Afo-Bruni management is student-centered, it's not just by words, but looking at the things that he has done, will tell you that indeed he was running a student-centered management. So when you look at this, one can say that everything about the Vice Chancellor was about students. Let's look at lecture halls. He built lecture halls within a space of a year. When you look at the space at which he responds to student issues, you'll be amazed. As I said, I was the former president, and sometimes it will amaze you that the Vice Chancellor himself will test you to ask about his people, his students. He will call you, Presido, what is happening? I hope everybody is well. This tells you how the Vice Chancellor had students at heart. Sometimes you will call him at midnight, you will send him text message, and he will quickly reply you.
Other colleagues in other universities always envy us because they don't even see their Vice Chancellor before they leave their school. But here in UEW, our Vice Chancellor is always there to meet the students. The town hall meeting is one, the interdenominational services that we have. And any student at all who meets him on campus is willing to listen to the person, whatever the person is saying. And I can also say that the kind of orientation that is given to the student leaders here is not done anywhere.
I would say that the introduction of the town hall meetings has really made a lot of opportunities for students to be heard at the administrative level. The reason is that we have a lot of the representatives of students from various levels, from the various courses or departments, and most of the course reps are also from the lower units who make up and then participate in the town hall meetings. So any other concern are also being heard on the town hall meeting. Secondly, in terms of responses to challenges or unclear matters that are of administrative issues, we have a lot of early responses to these issues that make things very clear for us.
We are also ensuring inclusion and gender equity.
Looking around, you can readily count the number of females who have been promoted into the professorates. We have about 5 that readily comes to mind. We have a full professor. We have a number of women who have also been promoted into the professorate. And that means so much for us as advocates of gender issues in the university.
Management's objective to ensuring the institutionalization of the gender mainstreaming policy is because it will bring up wider talents. That is, we have a wider talent pool. Now, it's not just men who are being recognized or whose ideas are being recognized, but women's ideas are being recognized also. And we know that diversity makes everything pleasant. You have different perspectives of issues that will come up. There will be enhanced collaboration so that there will be respect for both men and women, as should be expected in any organization that wants to thrive.
Of promoting access, the university recruited hundreds of staff and facilitated staff development to build a strong manpower base for quality assurance.
During my stewardship, I received nearly 600 financial grants. In 2017, 120, and last year, 450 from the government of the Republic. And I'm very, very grateful for this support.
The Professor Afugoni-led administration witnessed the promotion of various categories of staff into various ranks in this university. We can count as many as 628 promotions within this period. Prof himself had the opportunity to call individuals for interaction in his office, encourage them to apply for promotion. In addition, as the chair of APB and in consultation with the members, they had opportunity and invited staff who had served more than 6 years and had not put in their promotion for interaction. I'm glad to say that most of these, after the interaction, saw the need to put together their papers and submit for promotion. And I can count as many as 8 of them who have been promoted within this period. The Professor Afugoni-led administration recorded unprecedented approval of study leave to all categories of staff. For instance, we can say that 58 members of staff were granted study leave to pursue PhD between 2017 and 2020. This year, others have also received approval and they are yet to communicate to them.
UEW extended its drive to create access for qualified Ghanaians by designing a special program to help professionalize and upskill the qualification of some 200,000 untrained private school teachers across the country to professional degree holders.
We have a lot of private school teachers who usually would not have the luxury of teaching and at the same time working, because the conditions are a little different. You have a lot of them and wanting to have access to quality education, but it becomes very challenging for them. So when this issue of having a program for private school teachers nationwide, the Afugoni-led management thought that this is a good opportunity to make their vision of making quality education affordable and achievable for all Ghanaian youth. They said, no, we can't let this opportunity pass by. So they opened their doors to this great opportunity.
The University of Education, Winneba, has now teamed up with NACOPS, that is the National Council of Private Schools, to train all private school teachers in line with the government's desire to professionalize teaching. With the establishment of the National Teaching Council, NTC, and the Regulatory Act 1023 in 2020, Section 79A and B, it is mandatory that if teachers are not trained to be professionals, they can no longer teach either in the public or in the private schools. It is in line with this that the University of Education Winneba decided to team up with the private schools to give competent teacher education to the private schools as a way of the university's contribution in supporting the government's agenda.
The plan has been drawn for this program to commence, and so many things came to light. And so they said, no, this one should be done during their long vacs, because these are people who will have to teach and will have to maintain their jobs and also have education. So if you fix it anywhere than their vacation, then you disadvantage them. So the program have been decided to be run during the long vac, so that wherever you are as a private school teacher, you will have access to education. And we are talking about huge numbers here. We are talking about 230,000 teachers or private school teachers who need to have this kind of education to improve their quality and also that of the nation. So in the line of content, we see that UEW, in the light of the Afro-Bruni management, think that UEW has the qualified staff when it comes to teacher education. You're not just looking at education, you're looking at teacher education. And teacher education, UEW is the place. So they believe that they have the right lecturers to deliver the job to improve the quality of private school teachers.
The University of Education Winneba continues to pursue with passion a long-standing tradition of ensuring that knowledge nurtured at this university would become a source of enlightenment and empowerment to all people in the world far and wide. Management in this direction is making every effort at fanning this flame that will dispel the darkness of ignorance amongst our people and to bring to light the true excellence in our university. For us at UEW, this implies giving opportunities to as many of our qualified Ghanaian youth as we can as they continue to express ever-growing interest in our university. University of Education Winneba, education for service.